Hi guys, in today's review is on a model I have not looked at by Bachmann, and this model stems from a pre-grouping locomotive from the Great Northern, and that is the Great Northern Class H4. It is designed by Gresley, so this was a must for me. Later, the Lner K3, the K standing for a mogul design under the Lner. And in the summer announcements of 2025, Bachmann did announce a few more K3 locomotives to the range. And I went for one that is in a celebration box and livery, I believe, to celebrate 200 years of the Stockton and Darlington Railway and 100 years of the Stockton and Darlington Railway celebrations, which this actual livery and number actually featured in that celebration, which was opened by the Duke and Duchess of York, later the King and Queen of England. So with that being said, I went for a 32-279B Lner K3 class, number 203, Lner lined black. And it does look smart in the Lner lined black. It's era free, it's a 8-pin DCC ready chip if you want to do that. The tooling started life in 2004 and it's an original Bachmann one. And like I said, it was announced in the 2025 summer announcements. And during summer 2026, TMC were selling these off at a bargain price. So with that all being said, let's get into the review and see what it's all about. And at the end, I shall tell you the price they're going for and the price I paid. Here goes. So before I talk about the details and the accessories and the manual that you get with the model, I just want to talk about the sleeve that Bachmann have done for it. It's not their usual style in a way. It doesn't have any window to look through to look at the model. So on the front it is in silver with blue. You have a line drawing of the actual model you have in the box, which looks fantastic. You also have in the circle railway celebrations, the class and the type of model with the Bachmann website and the scale. That is on the front and it looks nice. I do like it, smart. Then on the side you have the Bachmann badge in the silver and the blue. But on the back, this is the reason why they've done it, is to celebrate 100 years and 200 years of the Stockton and Darlington Railway opening in 1825. And then in 1925, it was to celebrate a cavalcade that came through, a celebration with all types of locomotives that were there. And this one here is the exact one from the K3 class that was there. So I just thought I'd mention that. It's nice. So you do get a manual of some description and you get a detail bag. So let's start in the detail bag. It's not resealable and nothing in there is painted. You get cylinder drain cocks. You also get some extra piping, either a steam pipe or a vac pipe. I think one is already applied to the tender. And you get, I think these are guard irons for the front or the back. They're not painted, but they are there and they're all black. You do get 2 leaflets. So they're basically saying the same stuff. So the small one tells you about product maintenance and care, and it gives you the usual spiel from all manufacturers about storage, curves, DCC, lubrication, cleaning, maintaining. It does say it will do second. They're both N and 00 stuff will do second radius, which is great to know. And then on the inside, joining the Baptist Collectors Club, product warranty, and then on the back it's warranty service request. And then the final piece of paper, which is basically your manual for the Lner K3. It has all the stuff that the other one has. It has the body removal, it has DCC fitting on what sort of decoder you need, spare parts, retail accessories, general notes, lubrication running in. Nowhere in any of these it tells you where to add your accessories. Nowhere. But also you do have a exploded diagram of all the parts just in case you do need some. But the parts are not numbered. Well, at least you've got an exploded diagram. Now we move on to the front of the locomotive. So let's start in the usual places. So from the factory, we do have the couplers already applied front and back of this locomotive. We also have some guard irons down below. We have a buffer beam in red with a lining of, I think it's black and white around the edges. We have the class of the locomotive, which is K3. We also have the number of this one. Again, these are all in the correct font. The number is 203. We do have a hook. I think there's a little bit of paint missing as well on mine. We do have 2 holes for detail parts. I think that could be a vat pipe or a steam pipe. And then we come to buffers and shanks. The shanks themselves are black and the buffers themselves are sprung, and I think they are a metal piece, which is okay with me. Again, the buffer shanks do not have any lining by the looks of it. So as we move up just a little bit, we do have the usual 3 lamp irons. We have some bracing just behind the outside lamp irons. We do have some handrails, very tiny. I think they are a metal piece as well. And in that section there, it curves. But where the middle lamp iron is, below that it's a straight 90-degree right angle. We also have some, I think, sanding pots or lubrication pots on the running board. Again, we have some supports for the boiler and steam pipes going down to the cylinders. We also have a cement box dart. Again, I only think one half of this is separately applied. We have the hinges and supports to the door. They have not been picked out, it's all black. Then we come to the metal handrail at the top and a lamp iron as well, and the chimney. If you look close enough around the side, you can see some more handrails to go with it. Now we move on to the side of the locomotive. So to me, there is some slight differences with the size of the locomotive. So around the other side, we have different pots and lubrication points on the running board, and there isn't a pipe running the whole length of the boiler. We do have a handrail around there like we do this side. That's the only difference I personally can see, and there's no reverser around there. So round this side, we do have the reverser, like I said. Not sure if it's a metal piece or plastic piece or part of the moulding, but it is there and it's black. We have the handrails and the pipe. The handrails itself on the model, all of them are metal, and we have the pipe as well in the whole length of the boiler. The boiler itself is lined red, black and red. From here you can see some lubrication pots, sanding pots on the running board as well, as long as a few other handrails, small handrails for the crew. This is a Sir Nigel Gresley designed locomotive for the Great Northern. The wheel configuration is a mogul, it's a 260. And as you see here, the cylinders have been lined. I also think the curved running board has been lined as well. The wheels and axles have all been covered up on all of the wheels, and the rods themselves are metal and they're shiny. I think it's to celebrate an event that happened, which is great. The lining on here is fantastic. And if you look between the wheels, you can see some brake shoes and sanding pipes all lining up with the wheels, which is correct. There's also some firebox detail and underneath detail as well, and probably some supports as well. As you move over to the cab area, so I believe the steps have also been lined. We have a builder's plate on the side of the cab. The handrails, like I said before, are metal and are separately applied. The cab itself has been lined too, and we have one of the windows that is glazed. And then we come to the roof. Now we move on to the cab detail and front of the tender. So for an older model, the cab detail is pretty well. Everything there has been painted to a high standard and it is correct as well. So as you may have guessed by now, it doesn't have flickering firebox. But if you look closely enough where the globe should be, there is a metal piece. Not sure if that opens or it's protecting something in there. I know on a few of Bachmann models, the doors do open. So at the top of the cab, we do have 5 small dials with white backgrounds, and we have piping going to them. And then we have 4 bigger ones with actual painting on them. The gauges are pointing in positions, and there is a gold trim and painting again with the piping. We have glazing. The glazing itself I think is a glazing bar in some parts, but at least we do have glazing. We do have the water filler gauges. Again, they have a diagonal stripes. We have a brake handle, I believe, as well, and I think somewhere there is the regulator. The cab walls have been painted in a cream, which is nice. We also have, I think, seats, and we do have a wood flooring effect going on. Like I said, everything in there has been painted to high standards. So as far as I'm aware, there is no loco and tender foreplate with this model, but down below we do have lots of rivets. We also have a metal piece hanging out, which is the loco and tender connection, which I'll go into later on. And there's a few holes in the chassis, which is correct. If you look close enough, you can see some of the brake rigging as well. As we now move over to the front of the tender, I believe most of it has been moulded on, which is not a bad thing. So we do have toolboxes at the top. We also have a coal chute and some riveting. The coal load on the chute looks okay. I don't think it's too realistic, but it's there. We do have two handles. I think one's for the brakes and I think one is maybe for the water scoop. Again, there's nothing on here being picked out. It's all in black. And there is a few cupboards for the firemen. Down below, we do have lots of rivets again, like the cab. We also have a massive hole in the centre, which is where the drawbar goes through. If you look closely enough, you can see some of the brake rigging underneath that's been applied by the factory. Now we move on to the tender sides. And to me, both sides of this tender are exactly the same. This is a flared tender, so basically it means it flares up at the top, it comes out. We do have metal handrails for the crews, which is great. We also have it lined as well in the usual red lining. We have the Lner on the side, again with the number, which is 203, which is not on the side of the cab, it's on the tender on this model, this version. Again, it's in the Lner black. Down below, we do have the steps matching up with the handrails, which is great. We also have the outer box and springs, which are crisply moulded, and we have some supports, which are the correct ones for this tender. So we have one big one near the cab, we have a small one near the end of the tender as it was. Again, all this has been lined, and then you look closely enough between the frames, you can possibly see some of the brake rigging and the scoop too. Now we move on to the back of the tender. So much like the front, it does have the coupling already applied from the factory. I think there's also some guard irons down there, or an X1 in tender first. The buffer beam itself is rectangle, unlike the front, and it is lined. And in the centre bit, it's red. We do have a hook. I think there's a vat pipe or steam pipe applied from the factory. The buffer shanks, I believe, are black, and the buffers themselves are sprung, and I think they are a metal piece. As we move on up just a little bit, you can see we do have handrails at either side for the crew. Again, these are metal. We have the usual 3 lamp irons. Not sure if these are moulded on or a separate applied piece, but they look good to me. We have 2 steps. Between the 2 steps, we also have another grab handle. Again, it's a metal piece. And the back is lined in red and the delivery is black. Then at the top it does flare out just a little bit, and we have another lamp iron to go with it. And then we have the tender equipment on top. Now to do an aerial view on top of the tender first. So let's start in the usual places, which is where the water filler cap is. So yes, we do have a water filler cap. Don't think it has a separate handle on it. In the corners we do have the lifting rings, which, if I'm honest with you, look quite good in my opinion. We have a cylinder as well, which I think could be for the brakes or something. And then we have a half moon thing. All of this is in black. The whole of the tender is in black. And then we have a support or wall to where the coal is. So yes, we do have a coal load. It looks okay. I know it's an old tooled model. It looks okay to me. Do not think it is removable, but I could be wrong because it looks like there might be a few gaps around the outside. And then we come to the toolboxes where the fireman is. Now we do an aerial view on top of the locomotive itself. So let's start in the usual place, which is the cab roof. So the cab roof itself is black and most of the stuff on it is moulded. So we do have 2 rain ducts either side. We also have a moulded on vent, and I think there's a welding patch as well at the cab roof at the front. Again, all this is moulded, it's fine. If we move just a little bit forward, this is where the safety valves and whistles are, and also the windows. So the windows have been picked out in a gold colour around the outside. We have a plastic whistle which has been painted, and it looks okay from viewing distance. And then we have, I think they are metal safety valves, which is fantastic. If you look close enough, just below the windows, you can see some more metal handrails for the crew. And there is also some washout plugs there as well. As we move on to the boiler, like I said, we do have washout plugs. We also have, if you look closely enough, there seems to be a moulding line. It's just very slight, you have to look really close for it. There is the lining, which I said is red, black and red. There's a dome. I think there's a superheater moulded on near the chimney, and then we have the chimney. If you look down the chimney, you can see through. In there, I think there is the 8-pin socket around that area. Like I said before, we do have metal handrails for the cruise, and there is a steam pipe on one side of the model, and we also have some sanding pots and lubrication pots on the running board as well. And then we come to the supports and the buffers. Now we do an underneath look at the locomotive. So under here you can see there is some supports underneath, there's some underneath detail to the model, which is great. They're on both sides as well. You can also see that we have the shiny metal rods, which do look very nice when they're going round. We have metal wheels, and the 6 driving wheels are the ones that do the picking up. So it's basically an 060, and it is a copper strip, which is great. We do have the brake rigging applied from the factory. If you look closely enough, it is the middle driving wheel, that's good. I think the pickups is hardwired to the locomotive, but I could be wrong. And if you wanted to take the shell off, it is just 2 screws. One where the front bogie truck is, there's one there, and then one where the drawbar is. That's all it is, and you just slide it off. It's that simple. And finally we come on to the loco tender drawbar and also the underneath of the tender. From here, if you look close enough, you can see some of the panelling on the cab roof in cream, which looks fantastic. But if you look closely enough, you can see the drawbar. The drawbar is, like I said, it's that metal thing going across with 2 holes. One for a normal coupler and one for one a bit closer. And it is just a little stem on the tender. That's all it is. There's no wires or anything going across. For an old tool model, it's a little bit of a shame. We do have the brake rigging already applied from the factory, which is great. We also have metal wheels. Obviously these wheels ain't going to be any picking up, but metal ones are better than plastic ones. And we also have a water scoop too, and then we come to the NEM pockets at the end and the buffers too. It's a shame it doesn't have any tender pickups. So yeah guys, that's it on the tracks. I've got to say it does look quite beautiful in this lined Lner livery. So next up will be the second radius and points test. All my points that I use for the points test are second radius, especially with Bachmann saying it can do second radius, so we shall find out now, shall we? So here goes. So here is the points test from the shed. Not a bad speed, what we're talking, about 28. Yeah, it doesn't seem happy with that second radius point from Hornby. And backwards. Let's turn it a bit slow. Again, it's the 30, it's gone up by 2. So next up is the points that go from one line to another. Let's see if it will manage these. Both second radius, mad. Managed it in forward, let's see if we do backwards. Slow down a little bit, I've sort of got used to it now. But yeah, it managed it perfectly fine at 30 on the controller for both. So yeah, it can just manage second radius on my layout or track. Points, again, it struggled at some parts, which I expect with a few Bachmann older tooled models, they don't seem to like second radius for some reason. Which doesn't bother me because this will mainly be ran on the outer loop, which is third. But at least it can do them, which is the main thing. So next up I will do some slow speed and I'll find it a train to pull. So here it goes. Smooth. Where are we? 20 there, it's quite smooth, but it doesn't like it. Prefers the 30, which I've put it at now. See? 30. It's more happy at this speed, but it looks nice running. So yeah guys, that's the end of the running session and the review. Before I give my opinion and price that I paid, I'll tell you what it was pulling. So this is a mixed traffic, and I literally did do mixed traffic. So we had a Rapido Great Northern van, just because these were originally Great Northern, I thought I'd throw it back to its original company. And then we had some freelance Graham Farish or Grafar teak coaches that are based on a Southern design, just because they are Lner and they look nice together. I think it's just some fun. Please don't take it seriously. So let me talk about the price before I talk about the opinion. So I paid for this one. I got it from TMC. It's brand new and it was £116, £4 postage, which I think is about correct for this model with the features it is lacking, which I'll go into in a minute. If you were to get it from a model shop that's not on sale, you were talking about £153, £154. I think if it's not on sale, because I've seen a few shops with these on sale. And if you get it direct from Bachmann themselves, you're talking £180 for this, which I think personally is too high. I actually think the model shop one is too high as well. So my opinion on this model. So the model itself, it goes around the track, no issues on third radius. You can leave it to run in for the 30 minutes it says, which I do an hour each way with no issues. It won't derail, it won't stop. It's perfectly fine in that aspect. The livery itself actually looks quite nice on it. I love the rods. Okay, yeah, there's a screw, Bachmann do use screws, but it does look quite nice when it's going around, and the livery is smart and well applied. This does show its age quite badly. Like I said, it's around 2004, 2006 when it was released or tooled up, and it does show that age really badly. As you may tell, it struggled on second radius. It also struggled on some of my points as well. The older Bachmanns seem to do that on my railway, so I know it's an older tooled. Don't think anything inside has been upgraded. It's a bit chuckety, a bit inconsistent, a lumpy runner on curves, especially third radius and definitely second radius. It's not so smooth going forward, but in reverse, which I've not shown on camera yet, it's super smooth around the bends, it's super smooth on straights, which some models are, it's just the way they're made. So it's great. Bachmann put the front coupler on, because I probably will run this tender first, because it's a better runner that way. This drastically needs an upgrade, in my opinion. It needs tender pickups. For the high price it's got currently, it definitely needs tender pickups. It definitely needs a flickering firebox, and probably a coreless motor. And obviously, if you're into your DCCs, fitting and sound, it needs all that as well. And probably a different chip, because at the moment it's an 8-pin. It probably needs a different one to that, probably a 21 or something. And if you're going to retool the chassis, you may as well retool the body, and may as well do the Great Northern version, which will be fantastic. I think that would sell perfectly fine in the current market, because there's a lot of people buying pre-grouping stuff. Lecos, rolling stock, you name it, they seem to sell pretty well. So for me, the Bachmann price is way too high. The model shop price is way too high for an older tool model that shows its age. The TMC, I think, is correct. It basically is a railroad locomotive. It's an old tool, it needs upgrading, it's a railroad model, it should be cheaper than it is. So I wouldn't recommend paying the full price at a model shop, and I definitely wouldn't recommend paying a full price at Bachmann. Hasn't got the features to command a high price, in my opinion. I'm not bashing any manufacturers here or the model, I'm just saying it needs upgrading, that's all it is. But failing that, I like it. It runs well to a certain extent and it looks good to me, and it's a class I don't have. So that was my review on the Bachmann Grizzly K3 locomotive in its celebration livery. Hope you find this review useful. Please take care and goodbye.